But even if he does not save us from your hand, O king, we want you to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you had set up. Isn't that an extraordinary declaration? I'm amazed at the maturity that these young men showed. We are not going to give up our faith in our God. It is our most precious possession. There is something we fear even worse than dying, and that is disobeying and rebelling against our God. There is something more precious than our earthly life, and that's our eternal life. There is someone's approval we crave, King Nebuchadnezzar, even more than we crave yours. We crave the approval of our God. He is number one, and we're not going to do it. And our God is supreme and serene. He can save us. But even if He doesn't, we're not going to do what you want. We will die if we have to, so that we may live. And so, in a rage, he orders them, stokes up the fire to the maximum heat possible in the technology that he had available. Who knows how hot it got? I'll tell you how big the effects of it were. They tied the 3 men up and carried them, and the carriers who were going to take them to the flue and heave them in, the heat was so intense from the exhaust stack that it killed all of their guards, and their last act was heaving the bound bodies into the stack. And they perished just from the heat radiating from the exhaust flue. And then comes the extraordinary outcome. Instead of 3 bodies roasted to unrecognizable carbon, here's what actually happened. He, in verse 24, leaped to his feet in amazement and said, "Wasn't it 3 men that we tied up, threw in the fire?" They said, "Certainly, O king." He said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." And he called for the 3 men to come out, and not only were they not harmed, their clothes weren't scorched, their hair wasn't singed, the ropes had burnt right off them, they were no longer bound, and they didn't even smell like smoke. And Nebuchadnezzar then gave a shout of respect to Israel's God, gave a decree that nobody, on pain of death, should ever speak a word to disrespect Israel's God. And those 3 men, of course, had extraordinary stories to tell for the rest of their lives. I imagine they retold that story 1,000 times if they told it once. Amazing. Many times, there was no rescue. In the book of Hebrews is the catalog of all the different ways that people have been martyred for the Lord. John the Baptist might have thought, "I don't know how you're going to do this, God," as he's kneeling down and laid his head on the block. He's thinking, well, maybe the axe head is going to go flying right off the handle. Maybe you're going to strike lightning bolts down and whack my executioner. And maybe his last words are, "I wonder how you're going to do this, God. How are you going to save me? Are you going to..." And his next thought was, "Hi, Jesus. How'd you get here so fast? I was just on earth with you." And he went to heaven.